Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get you the knowledge you need efficiently.
That's the goal.
And today, we're tackling something, well, something a lot of people feel, especially when numbers are involved. Statistics anxiety.
Yes. It's that apprehension, isn't it? Maybe even a bit of dread when you're faced with data or statistical concepts, and it's actually more common than you might think.
Definitely. So to really understand this, we're diving into a specific piece of research, a systematic review. It's called Psychometric Properties of Statistics Anxiety Measures. A systematic review. The authors are Faraci and Maluzzo, and it just came out in Educational Psychology Review this past June.
Right, and a systematic review, just so we're clear, isn't just any old literature review. It's a really rigorous, very structured look at all the existing research on one particular question.
And the question here is,
How do we actually measure statistics anxiety? How good are the tools we use? And these researchers, they followed strict guidelines, PRISMA guidelines, to make sure everything was comprehensive and, as unbiased as possible. It's like a state-of-the-art summary.
okay, exactly. So our mission today is to unpack what this review tells us about those measurement tools. What are their strengths? And maybe more importantly, where are the weaknesses?
Where do they fall short? Yeah.
So first off, why should we even care about measuring this? What's the impact of statistics anxiety?
Well, the review points out right away this isn't some tiny niche problem. It's actually quite prevalent, particularly, it seems, among students in fields that aren't purely mathematical. Think social sciences, psychology, education.
Right. You might be really into understanding people or society, but then bam, you hit this wall of needing statistical analysis and it feels, well, intimidating.
That's exactly it. And the article, it mentions this anxiety is linked to detrimental outcomes. Now, this specific paper doesn't list them all out, but it hints that, this anxiety can really hinder learning statistics in the first place. It might make students shy away from research later on, maybe even affect career paths if data analysis is involved.
Okay, so it has these real-world kind of knock-on effects. That makes sense. So if it matters that much, being able to identify it, maybe quantify it, that becomes pretty important.
Crucial, yeah. And that's why researchers over the years have come up with different ways to try and measure it. Often, these are self-report questionnaires.
Asking people directly about how they feel.
Yeah, asking about their feelings, their reactions, when they encounter statistics in different situations.
And that's where this review by Faraci and Maluzzo comes in. Because it wasn't just about listing the tools that exist. They wanted to know, how good are these tools, actually?
Precisely. They wanted to evaluate the quality. The term is psychometric properties.
Psychometric properties.
Yeah.
Sounds technical.
It is a bit, but think of it like the quality control checks for a measuring instrument. Is it accurate? Is it reliable? Does it give consistent results? And crucially, is it actually measuring statistics anxiety or maybe something else, like general nervousness?
Okay, makes sense. Like checking if your bathroom scale is actually accurate, not just giving you a number.
Exactly like that. So this review aimed to give a really comprehensive picture of how well these existing statistics anxiety scales actually perform on those checks.
Right, so how did they go about it? They had all these potential tools out there.
Well, they started with a really broad, systematic search. They looked in the major academic databases, places like Psychinfo, Scopus, Web of Science, Medline, PubMed, the key places you'd find psychology and related research.
So proper academic digging, not just a quick search online.
Oh, definitely. And they had very clear rules, inclusion criteria for what studies they'd actually consider.
Like what?
They needed to be peer-reviewed articles, published in English. They had to use self-report measures specifically for statistics anxiety, so questionnaires. And this included studies introducing new scales, but also studies testing the properties of existing ones.
Okay, so clear boundaries. Did they find a lot initially?
The first trawl brought up about 225 potential articles, which, sounds like quite a bit of activity in the area.
Yeah, seems like it.
But then, applying those strict criteria...
the filtering stage.
Exactly. Narrowed things down considerably. Only 28 papers actually made the final cut.
Wow, 28 out of 225. That's quite a reduction.
It is, and maybe even more revealing. Those 28 papers, they were actually reporting on just 8 different measurement scales for statistics anxiety.
Only 8 core scales being studied in those 28 papers.
That's right. So while people are interested, the actual validated tools being actively researched seem to be concentrated around a fairly small number.
Interesting. Okay, so they have these 28 studies focusing on 8 scales. Yeah. How did they then assess the quality of those scales? You mentioned psychometric properties.
They use a specific framework for that, one developed by a researcher named Skinner. It's a well-respected sort of three-stage approach to systematically evaluate how methodologically sound these kinds of measurement instruments are.
Okay, a structured way to check the quality control, basically.
Pretty much. It helps look at how the scales were built, how they were tested, how reliable they are, all those crucial aspects.
All right, so after all this, the searching, the filtering, applying the Skinner framework, what did they find? Let's start with the positives. Were these scales any good at all?
Well, yeah, there was some good news. The review did conclude that the identified measures, these 8 scales, they do seem to have the potential to capture some key features of statistics anxiety.
Okay, so they're not completely off base.
Not at all. It suggests the basic foundation is there. Researchers have generally been on the right track in trying to define this feeling and create ways to measure it. These tools can give us some indication, a general sense of someone's anxiety level.
That's good to know. A starting point.
Okay.
But you mentioned limitations earlier, and that's often where the really practical insights lie, isn't it? What were the main weaknesses they found?
Absolutely. This is the crucial part. The review definitely highlighted what they called psychometric limitations across these measures.
Okay.
And this is really important for anyone reading or using research based on these scales. Remember, we talked about accuracy and reliability. These limitations suggest that some tools might not be as precise or as consistent as we'd ideally want.
Psychometric limitations. Can you break that down a bit more? What does that mean in practice? Like, if I see a study using one of these scales, what should I be thinking?
It could mean a few things. For example, maybe a scale doesn't give consistent scores if the same person takes it twice, even if their anxiety hasn't really changed. That's an issue with reliability, specifically test-retest reliability.
Okay, so it might fluctuate randomly.
Kind of. Or maybe a scale that's supposed to measure statistics anxiety is also picking up strongly on just general anxiety about math, or maybe even test-taking anxiety.
Ah, so it's not specific enough.
Right. That questions its validity. Is it truly measuring the specific thing it claims to measure? There could also be issues with how questions are phrased. Maybe they're ambiguous, or the answer choices aren't quite right.
I see.
Essentially, these limitations mean we need to be a bit careful. We can't just take the scores from these measures as a perfect, absolute reflection of someone's underlying statistics anxiety.
So reading a study using one, I should keep in the back of my mind that the number reported,
Yeah.
it might have some fuzziness around it.
That's a good way to put it. Fuzziness. It means the findings need to be interpreted with, well, caution. The researchers themselves strongly advised caution.
Right, because if the measurement tool itself is a bit wobbly.
Then the conclusions you draw based on the data from that tool also become less certain, less solid. If a study finds a link between anxiety scores and performance, but the anxiety score itself is potentially unreliable or not perfectly valid, well, you see the problem.
Yeah, it weakens the whole finding.
Okay.
So this obviously has big implications for researchers. What did Faraci and Maluzzo actually recommend? What should people do with this information?
Their main advice was for researchers to be much more careful and informed when they choose and use these measurement tools.
Okay.
They suggested basically 2 paths. First, try to prioritize using the measures that have shown stronger psychometric properties in previous evaluations. The review doesn't explicitly rank them in this excerpt, but the implication is some scales have held up better under scrutiny.
So do your homework, choose the best validated tool available.
Exactly. And the second recommendation is for situations where maybe researchers use a less well-validated scale or use a scale in a new population. In those cases, they really need to invest time and effort in further evaluating that tool's properties within their specific study.
Don't just assume it works perfectly for your situation. Test it yourself.
Precisely. You need to show that the tool is actually working reliably and validly for your participants and your research question.
And for our listeners, the takeaway here is be a critical consumer of research.
Absolutely. Understand that how we measure something directly impacts what we think we know about it. Knowing that these tools have limitations helps you evaluate the strength of the evidence you encounter.
That makes complete sense. It really loops back to why we do this deep dive to give that context. So, okay, let's wrap this up. What's the core takeaway message from our dive into this systematic review?
I think the main point is this. We do have tools to measure statistics anxiety, and they capture some aspects of it. But this very thorough review shows that many of these tools have significant psychometric limitations issues with reliability or validity.
Meaning?
Meaning researchers need to be more careful choosing and validating their measures, and the rest of us need to be cautious when interpreting research findings based on them. Not all scales are created equal, and that matters for the knowledge we build.
It really highlights the importance of methodology, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
How the how affects the what.
Definitely.
So that's a really crucial insight. And it leaves you with a thought, doesn't it?
Mm.
If the tools we use for something seemingly straightforward like statistics anxiety have these limitations, what about other, perhaps even more complex areas we try to study?
That's a great point.
It's a reminder, maybe, to always question the foundations, the measurement methods underpinning the knowledge we consume in any field. How solid is the ground we're standing on?
A very important question indeed.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it gave you some valuable perspective on statistics anxiety, but also on the bigger picture of research quality.